All right, well, we're great to have another one of these because it means we're going bowling. So very excited to be going to a bowl again. Certainly very proud of our football team. When the year started, my hope is that we'd take another similar step. I said, I think over and over, I would hope that we'd make the same improvement and the same step that we did the year before. And between 2010 and 11, we were the 13th most improved team in the country, with winning 3 more games, and this year we're the 12th most improved team in the country, winning 3 more games, and our hope is to make it 4, so we've got one more opportunity. Looking back, I think the investment we made on defense in 2011 really paid dividends this year. We were a very young defense at 11. We played a lot of freshmen and sophomores, and clearly those guys all got better. We finished up the year as the 7th ranked defense in the country. I don't know when the last time a MAC defense has been ranked that high, but we're very proud of what we did on that side of the ball this year. And what's also exciting, in our top 22, in our 2 deep, we're only going to graduate 2 of those players. Other than Chris Jones and Dwayne Woods, everybody in that group is coming back, and a lot of those guys are going to be back for more than 1 year. So I think we've got a really solid foundation built on defense. Offensively, we're very improved on the O-line. I think our ability to run the football was a lot better this year. The passing game, and I would say this not unexpectedly, maybe wasn't as productive as we like, but we knew going into the year we were going to replace 6 of our top 7 receivers. So that was a concern going in, and because of the way we were able to play defense and because of the way we were able to run the football, I felt that became less critical for us to win football games. And I hope the investment we made in all of those young receivers are going to pay dividends down the line for us too. So I just think on that side of the ball in certain positions, we were maybe a year behind where we were, in every other position on the team. And if you look at us on offense, we lose 1 starter, Jordan Russos, and then we only lose 1 other player that played significant reps this year, and that was John Pettigrew. So again, I think on both sides of the football, we have a very, very solid core and foundation that we've built, and we expect great things from those guys in the years ahead. We're very excited to begin bowl prep. That really gets going full speed today. We've had 6 practices so far, but a lot of those was just kind of a general, almost like a spring practice, a little shorter. We just wanted to keep the guys doing football, and it's going to be a great trip. This is, I think, a really special bowl in our nation's capital to be able to celebrate Christmas there with all of our Falcon football family. There's some great events planned, and everything I've heard about this bowl is, it's really top notch. And I think they ranked all the bowl gifts, and I think this game finished like in the top 10. So I think our players are really excited about that too. A lot of where they wanted to go to a bowl wasn't necessarily who we played or where it was, but what the bowl gifts were. So from what I hear, they're going to be excited about that. Moving on, in terms of our preparation for San Jose State, they're ranked the number 24 team in the country. They're an excellent football team. They're 10-2. Their only 2 losses are to Stanford, who won the Pac-12, and they're going to the Rose Bowl, and they lost that game by 3 points. And their only other loss was to Utah State, who won the WAC, who played a really outstanding football game the other night. And I think people know they're a good team. And they also have quality wins. They soundly beat a Louisiana Tech team that was 9-3, San Diego State team that was 9-3, and also very quality wins against BYU and Navy. So this is a team that has earned all their accolades. They're very, very good on both sides of the football. On offense, 9 of their 11 starters were named either first, second, or honorable mention All-WAC. So every skilled player for them was an All-WAC selection. Their quarterback is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the country. He's completed over 70% of his balls. David Foles. They've got great skilled players. Grigsby was a first team all-conference player. Chandler Jones was second team all-conference, and Jabari Carr was also got votes. So every wide receiver for them was an all-conference player. Their tight end, Ryan Otten, is going to get drafted. He's probably a third, fourth round pick. He was a first team all-WAC tight end, very, very athletic. And they have a second tight end that's outstanding as well. So they have the ability to run multiple personnel groups. Their tailback was second team all-conference. He rushed for over 1,000 yards. And on their offensive line, they had 2 first team all-conference players and another guy that also got votes. So they're averaging 451 yards a game. 327 of it is in the air, and they've averaged over 35 points a game. So you'd like to go through that and say, okay, we're playing a one-dimensional, very high-scoring team. But then you look at them on defense, and they were a top 30 defense. And I think what's more remarkable about their defense is they're a big play offense. So they're not necessarily an offense that's trying to win time of possession. And yet, even with that, with their ability to score quickly, their defense is 28th in the country. Their entire front 4 was all-conference. They had 2 all-conference defensive linemen, and then 2 guys on the second team. Travis Johnson, their defensive end, was the player of the year in the conference. And I think it's very hard to be the player of the year on defense as a defensive lineman. It's almost always a linebacker or a safety that has a lot of interceptions or a lot of tackles, and that's how disruptive he is. Both of their inside linebackers were first team all-conference. They only give up 21 points a game, and again, they're good on both sides of the ball. So I think what's more remarkable is, if you look at this bowl game, there's only 9 bowl games in the country that the 2 teams have combined for more wins in this game. So the 2 teams have won 18 games. And so of the 35 bowls, there's only 9 that teams have more wins than that. And when you look back, that both of these teams 2 years ago combined for 3 wins. So this might be, I believe it's 2 programs that it's not just a one-shot deal, that they were built the right way with a solid foundation. And they're a really good football team, and we're excited to play them. So we get after it starting tonight, and we can really get into it tomorrow.
We always hear coaches talk about how much bowl practices help. For your team, maybe more than other teams, because you have so many guys coming back, how much does it help to have these extra bowl practices?
Well, I like to think a lot of our improvement this year just didn't happen this year, but was because of the accumulation of reps over the last 2 and 3 years. Okay, so we're going to get in 5 practices this week. We'll get in 2 more bowl practices at the site. And so that's another 14, 15, 18 hours of practice that our guys get that they wouldn't get if we weren't in the bowl. So there's no question. And last week we tried to give a lot of our younger guys reps, a lot of our red shirts reps. But, when you're involved in game prep, you get your 1s, 60 to 70% of the reps, and then your 2s, 30 to 40%. And the great thing about the last 6 practices is that we started getting our 3s reps. So the guys that were red-shirted, guys that we hope to help us next year, we've been able to give those guys work running our offense and our defense. So I think there's a cumulative benefit to that we saw this year.
Coach, offensively, they run almost evenly as many running back plays as passing plays. Hanging your hat on defense as you do, does that give you particular fits a little bit?
Yeah, they're very balanced. I mean, they are very, very multiple on offense. They'll line up in empty sets. They'll line up in 2 tight end sets. Their running game, they run the zone play, but they'll run the zone read out of the pistol. They have a great play-action game out of it. They'll run the stretch. They'll run the gap. They'll switch it up. They have another running back, 42, that will pound you in short yardage goal line, 4-minute situations. And what makes them so difficult to defend is, number one, they've got great personnel. Every offensive skilled player they line up with is an all-conference player. And the second thing is their offensive scheme is very well thought out. That if you load the box and try to take away the run, they've got a lot of quick, easy access throws. And the second you spread out with them, you've got a very physical, very athletic offensive line that'll cover you up, and a running back that rushed for 1,000 yards. So there's a reason they're 10-2. Okay, they're not a one-dimensional offense, and they're not a team that has outscored people 52 to 51. I mean, they can play defense and they defend people as well. So this is a complete football team, which you expect in a bowl game. When you get to a bowl game, you're there because you're good, and the other team is there because they're good. people might want to say anything about their conference. I mean, they have 5 wins against bowl-eligible teams. And then, again, their 2 losses, 3 points to Stanford and Utah State, who I think is an excellent football team.
The month layoff, good, bad, indifferent?
You know what, it is what it is. I mean, I think our players needed it. I think when you go 12 straight games, you're tired, and it was a break. Our players had finals last week, so it was great to have a bowl that you could just take finals week and give them off, and they can concentrate on their schoolwork and getting good grades and making sure we don't have any academic issues. So, and I think it's good to give them a little mental break. You know, I expect our football team to come out tomorrow fresh, excited to practice football. They've had a break, and now we get back to work.
So probably saw Michigan had a couple suspensions. Does that worry you when there's time off like this, when you address your team?
That worries me every day during the season and in the off season. That is never something I ever go to bed at night and say, geez, I don't have to worry about that. So I worry about it in August, I worry about it in September, and I worry about it in December. Just part of coaching college football. So you advise, you counsel, and you preach. I'm sure they do that at Michigan, and I'm sure they do it at Ohio State, and we do it at Bowling Green, and just college football. Things happen. So we do everything we can to prevent it, but they won't be the only team. And I hope we're not doing that here. But if it happens and it needs to be addressed, we'll address it.
Another part of college football, and I apologize because I have to do it, but rumors are always going to be around. Do your kids, they're 19, 20-year-old kids, they hear stuff, they have Twitter. Do you address that with your team when rumors come up and your name is surrounding a job?
No, because it's rumors. I mean, just every year since I've been here, I've been contacted by somebody. And I think that's just the nature of college football, that you look at the turnover in our profession, and every year, I think it's 20, 25 coaches are moving or getting fired or something's happening. When you've coached for 24 years, which I have, I mean, things are going to happen. I think it's just the nature of the profession. But, I don't think it's appropriate for me to ever talk about any open position, any school, any program, or any process. I plan on being the head coach at Bowling Green. And I've said that before, and I'll say it again. And we've worked extremely hard here for 4 years to build this program on a very, very solid foundation. I'm very excited to coach our team in this bowl game. I'm very excited to get our off-season program going. I'm excited for spring football to see our red shirts get better. And I'm very excited about next season. And I think we have a very bright future here. And I'm excited to be part of it. And, so to address this rumor or that rumor, it's not my place to do that. They have their process, and it'll play out. And when it plays out, I plan on being here.
First off, congratulations on the new job. When you
I heard you're going to the National Enquirer. Somebody could tweet that.
Can we get a retweet on that from DG?
And then you can deal with the 18 rumors.
You can flip the cameras around.
So.
Now, you're talking all these stats. It's almost like you wrote the game notes this week. You know more about this team than you almost know more about them than some of the MAC teams. When you go week to week, you have 3-4 days. You almost feel more familiar with this team.
I think you're more familiar with them from stats and who's all conference and all those things. In some ways, it's like an opener. For Florida, we had 6 months to prepare for that game, and you watch so much film on them. And normally during the season, we'll do maybe a 4 or 5 game breakdown on an opponent, and now you get a month to prepare for a team. And I mean, we've watched 12 games, and now it's like an 8 or a 9 game breakdown. So I think the challenge of a game like this is it's almost information overload. You get so much on them because you have so much time to prepare for them. And so I think we do know them schematically better than we get to know maybe an in-conference team. But with an in-conference team, we've played Ohio every year here. So we remember what they did to us in 09. We know when they lined up in this formation and we did that, they checked to this in 10. And there's not a history here. And what also makes this game very interesting is that their head coach did leave. So how does that change things? That now they have an interim head coach who is their defensive coordinator. Their offensive coordinator also, I believe, followed Coach McIntyre, so how does his game plan change? How much time is he there? I mean, there's a lot of dynamics that they're dealing with that fortunately we don't have to deal with.
Seemed to work though against Florida. I mean, you guys gave them a good fight down there. I mean, you team like that extra time to prep?
As coaches, we love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to have 10 days, 2 weeks to prepare for every game. So yeah, we'll have a very thorough, very well thought out game plan, but I'm sure they will too. And again, they're a good football team, and they've got good personnel. So what we try to do here is this next week, we're really, really going to go hard. And that way, once we take our trip to DC, once we get there, we want our players to be able to enjoy the bowl experience. So we really front load the preparation, so when we get to DC on Sunday, we want them to enjoy the Capitol and the tour of the monuments and all the different things that are part of a bowl experience.
With this thing falling right after Christmas, what are the players saying about this sort of schedule? What's their take on it?
I think they wanted to go to a bowl. I mean, I think there's positives of doing it then, and you don't get as much of a break before, but they still are going to get a week or so afterwards. I think everybody would love to be with their families on Christmas Day, but we'll be with our Falcon football family, so it'll be a non-traditional Christmas.
Coach, with their coaching change out there and the success they've had this year, would you expect they're not going to reinvent the wheel?
I don't know. I mean, I think their defensive coordinator, I believe, is a candidate to be the head coach there. So maybe he wants to put his own stamp on what they're going to do and show that he can lead their program in a certain way. You just never know. When you have a month to prepare for a game, there's a lot of new wrinkles and new things that can happen.
When you talk also about the wrinkles that you guys can, when you have a month to prepare, I mean, do you run the risk of trying to reinvent the wheel for yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to do too much. I mean, we did what we did, and we won 8 games, and we were 6-2 in the conference, and we believe we have a good football team. So to suddenly go in there and jump out and start in the wishbone or start running the wing T, maybe we'll do that, maybe we won't, John.
I'm writing it down.
The first play, maybe we'll run a triple, quadruple, reverse, double pass, and maybe we won't. So, yeah.
But is there a fear that you try and put in a lot of things?
There is a certain volume of offense and defense that I think you can get ready for every game. And we try not to exceed that volume. Now, when you have more time to prep and more time to practice, I think whatever that line is, I think you can push that limit a little bit more. Whereas during the week, when you have one Tuesday, one Wednesday, one Thursday, 3/4 of what you do better be within your base. In a game like this, I think you can push it a little bit more because we're going to have 2 Tuesday practices, we're going to have 2 Wednesday practices, then we'll have another Tuesday, and then another Tuesday, and then a Wednesday and a Thursday. So we'll have a lot more time. Now, part of it is just getting these guys doing football again. They've had 10 days off, and I'm sure they're so rested and so fresh right now that they've actually come up to me and demanded that we do a lot of conditioning tonight to just get the rust off. Gallon, I won't tell everybody that was your idea. That's between you and me, okay? It's between the two of us.
Thank goodness it's not recorded either.
Yeah, we're not. This is secretive.
Is there do you then, you focus on adding a little bit, but is it perhaps you have more chances to sharpen that?
We have more practice time to maybe play around with certain concepts. Whereas in a 1 week, if you want to get this play in or that play in and you think it might be a great play, you only have so many opportunities to practice it. If there's something unique and different that we think might be really good against who we're playing, we now have more opportunities to practice it, to rep it. If this play could be against these 4 different looks, you now maybe have a chance to expose that play to the 4 different looks and make all the tiny coaching adjustments, and you can cover all the what ifs. Whereas in a 1 week game plan, that's very hard to do.
You watched Toledo get beat up the other night.
You know what? This is why you guys are beautiful. Because there will be some tweet that this came out of the Bowling Green press conference, and it's going to be quoted to me. This is the Twitter.
Okay, get ready.
Okay.
It's not going to be as bad as it
Yeah,
as you
that
think.
was said by a media member, not a football coach. Can you guys turn your cameras on him?
We'll do voice recognition later.
Okay, did they get beat up? No, that game
No,
was
it
a
was
close
close
game
until
until 7
late-
minutes
until-
left in the
until-
fourth
until
quarter
the fourth
against a
quarter.
very good football team. So if you call that getting beat up,
It's not even going to be a question about Toledo here. So, all right. Here's where it's
why are
actually
you
going.
even mentioning their name in Bowling Green, Ohio?
Okay. The team up north. So they lose the other night. How much of this, though, is about MAC pride when it gets to the bowl season? You guys got a lot of teams in, a lot of hype about the conference. So how much of this is about winning games for conference at this point?
I mean, we want the MAC to do well, but we're most concerned that Bowling Green wins. If the MAC could go 5-2 and we're one of those losses, I'd rather the MAC go 1-6 and have Bowling Green win. And I know that's not the opinion of the league office, but our first concern is Bowling Green. So we want there to be at least one MAC team in the left-hand column, and we want it to be us. And if there's more teams that win, great, better for the conference. But I mean, certainly when Ball State plays Central Florida, we're going to be pulling for Ball State. And when Northern Illinois is in the Orange Bowl, we want Northern Illinois to win. We clearly do. But the game we're most concerned about is Bowling Green against San Jose State. So again, if you gave me a choice of 1-6 versus 5-2, and you said the 1-6, it's BG, I'd prefer that. So I hope right now the MAC goes 6-1, but I want to make sure we go 1-0.
Awful question, great soundbite. That's the way it works.
Okay. Yeah, I just want the soundbite because I'm sure you go to their press conference and trash us.
He does too. He does
I
it
know
all the
that.
time. He's
Yep.
a terrible person.
You've told me that before.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. Yeah.
Coach, you mentioned the goodie bag and getting the reps and so forth, the extra reps. What are other advantages of bowls? I would assume, for example, in recruiting, it's to your aid. It's
great in recruiting, but I think the other thing that's great about it is I think one of the reasons that we've won this year is we have a very cohesive locker room. We have a football team that enjoys spending time with each other. Shilsey and Gallen don't like each other much, but for the most part, the rest of the guys get along well. And when you get to do something and spend 5 days together, as a football team and as a football family, I just think it continues to build on the chemistry and the cohesion. And the bowl trip 3 years ago to Idaho was a really neat trip, and I think this will be a great trip. And I also hope for our redshirt freshmen that don't travel, I mean, they see now if they have a good season what the reward is. They get the goodie bag, they get the CDC, we're going to stay in a great hotel. I mean, it's really going to be a first-class trip.
What is the limit of players you can take?
To bring the whole team.
And
So
the plan
every
is
team.
Everybody's on the bus.
Everybody's on the bus, and unless they don't do well in school here and they're ineligible. So, yeah, this is great. I mean, our freshmen and our redshirts that have worked hard all year and we're on the scout team, this is their reward too. They get to go to the bowl, they get the same gift bag, they get to go to the same meals, they get the same tours. So that's the great thing about the bowl, is you get to include everybody in the program.
Anything else?
What did you just tweet?
I was tweeting how good of a mood you were in today.